Hello, everybody.
Well, hello.
All right. So, how you doing today, Rick?
I'm doing good, 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 good. And yourself?
All right. Maybe got up a little later than I actually wanted to, so I was running a tad behind most of the day, but still got everything done. I always try to get done on Mondays. You know, with one or two more things extra as well. Um.
Yeah.
So.
Me too. I got up a little.
Yeah.
Oh, you just
For
saying,
me,
yeah, me
sometimes
too.
I
I got
just.
up a little. I got
Uh,
up a little later too. That myself about I don't know, an hour and a half later than I intended.
Yeah. And those in the chat, if you guys can help us out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people to engage, that'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here we talk about tonight grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. We'll try to answer the questions to the best of our ability. Hello there, Elk. The Elk at Antioch.
Yes.
Hi, Xenu and Xena.
Yeah.
All right. So, anyways, well, we got some people in here now, so might as well talk a little bit about what's on tap tonight. So, tonight we're going to start off, um, you know, at least with one article. Depending upon how fast we get through it, maybe we might add another one. But the one article we are going to go over tonight is in regards to the Rippaverse, as apparently they've got another title coming out, Yaira. So we're going to look at
Actually,
that. What was that?
it launched today already,
Yeah.
and actually, it's not doing too bad. It's over 800,000 last time I checked, or last time I saw, anyways.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll go over that article, talk a little bit about that. Depending on how fast we get through that, maybe we'll go search for another article, see if there are any other articles that might, grab our attention, whether they be on Founding in the Comics, maybe Bleeding Fool, or even, another site that I came across, that Dark Place, which that Dark Place is a site that was started up by John F. Trent, who was formerly with Founding in the Comics. So he started up another site for himself.
Okay, have a moment to discuss EBS's descent into battle with Ripa. Maybe, like, I don't know a lot. I know it's happening, I know a
Yeah,
little bit of what's gone, but not much. I don't keep up with it.
right. I
Because,
don't either. It's not really news. It's kind of like watching two little kids in a sandbox, chucking sand at each other. That kind of stuff going on. It's not really, to me. It's not really super new. Like when it first started, it might have been newsworthy. Oh, these two are having a beef. Let's see what the source of this beef is about. Once we got found out what the beef was, then
yeah,
that was it. It's like.
although following it would be like, I think, following some of the other stories we follow, the different, or that you follow, where the localization they go back and forth. It's similar to that, but unfortunately, there's not a lot of articles on it. And again, we're not going over to either EV. I don't think you are. I know I'm not going over to EBS's stream to watch the trash cast, or we're not going over to Ripa's to, or I'm not anyways, to watch that to find out what he's saying, or I'm not really following. I think I follow technically both of them on Twitter, but I
Yeah.
don't see their tweets
Well,
at all.
yeah, even when I look at the localizer stuff, because after a while it does get kind of redundant, just as this stuff would. It's just more like, okay, well, here's something that this person's saying. Here's this person's perspective on the situation. Like when we look at some of the mangakas who have come, some of the mangakas, some of the industry people come out over, particularly those in Japan, because for a long time it was believed that a lot, like the original creators, a lot of the mangakas on that one didn't know what was going on. They weren't really aware or too aware that people were taking their work and just completely changing it. It's like
Yeah,
that was, so one, there's that aspect in terms of that, of okay, now that these people know what's being done to their work, what do they have to say about it? There's that aspect of it.
Yeah, obviously, and of course, I was just using that as an example. We have a lot of these stories that, and not that there's anything wrong with it, sometimes they're repetitive of the same thing, the industry, what it's happening, you just see it happening all over the place. And, the articles are what they are. We can't necessarily help what the articles are, or you can't. Well, neither of us can.
Well, the
And
thing is,
definitely you, since you're the one in charge of which ones we read or go through, it's just.
it's kind of like we report on the news, we comment on the news, but we don't try to make the news.
Yeah.
That's a difference.
And Oak says, I pick up brief portions. To me, EVS is changing or endangering his position as the most professional and mainstream CG creator. I'd say he did that quite some time ago, but um, anyways, Elk says Ripper overtook him in sales, but the art in his books is sub Marvel DC quality. Yeah, I can agree with that. Um, and I think the reason he overtook him is more he has a bigger reach out there than
Yeah.
EVS. EVS, yes, has his comic sales, but his comic fans, and he gained a lot of fans right near the beginning of it. Well, not the beginning, the middle of his channel, when the Star Wars stuff was happening and all that. So that allowed him to bring in a lot of people for
Well,
that.
Ripa has a bigger, just overall has a bigger audience. Therefore, as you put it, has a
Yeah,
bigger reach.
yeah, and of course that's what I was going to say. Ripper has been commenting on the same stuff that EVS has, plus probably a little bit more. And then of course he's been on, I think, the Blaze. He had a segment on the
Well,
Blaze.
he's actually employed by the Blaze.
Okay, well,
He's
I wasn't
employed.
sure.
He's a contributor to the Blaze.
Okay, well, I wasn't sure whether he still was or not, but.
Well,
And
I haven't watched the Blaze in like a few years here, but I do at least know that much.
with that, it gives him a bigger reach, thus he was able to get more money.
Hello, Duke Leto. This, of course, what we found out was
That's Captain
the other
Kennedy.
night. This is another form that Captain Infinity has taken on.
Yeah.
Our New Zealand friend here, and then EVS has at most 2,500 backers per project, and built hundreds of thousands in sales on a tiny house. Let's see. But he pioneered a $25 per book model. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I want to go back to something because now I'm like thinking a little bit more about this too. I had this thought cross my mind. I just couldn't get it out before because I couldn't figure out how to get it out. But going back to the whole idea with EVS, the EVS and RIPA drama, right? Where I know you guys were both mentioning how you don't think well. Elk is saying that he's on his way to becoming, not being as considered as professional as he was originally. You're saying he's already past that point. This is one of the problems with this looky-loo culture. With this, my grandma and your grandma sitting by the fire. My grandma said your grandma would set your flag on fire. That kind of culture that we're breeding here, where we just get into this whole thing about let's watch people burn, let's watch people suffer, because as long as we're not the ones suffering, it's cool. Let's just take amusement. Whether that's EVS and whether it's EVS and and and
Rip-Up,
Ripa,
Eric.
or Tug and whoever he's battling, whether it's like Amber Heard or this Hales guy, that this whole idea of let's just watch these people just destroy themselves, unfortunately does lead to a lack of professionalism. I mean, it's one thing to give legitimate critique when people are basically messing up. When
Yeah,
people do things that are wrong, like trying to cancel people, you know, or
yeah,
or just acting petty. It's another to sit there and revel in it. It's another, it's kind of funny because even Elk had said this. Elk had said this, a while back on one of my streams where a lot of times people talk about how they don't like drama, they don't really want drama, yet that's what they still choose to consume a lot of times.
yeah.
It's
Uh, Alex says so. CG isn't in any way a competition to DC Marvel. Oh, I think it depends on what you mean. They are taking a little bit of profit away, but then again, I think those people, have already were leaving because of what Marvel and DC were doing.
uh-huh.
Except that and they've got the extra artists are doing something. I don't think DC and Marvel themselves have bashed, but a lot of the artists have bashed people in CG. So at least the artists have got to consider it a little bit of competition, possibly. Anyways, I don't know.
Yeah,
Except that,
I mean, you think about it, even when you look at CG at this point, right? You actually have a bunch of little factions, developing up. You have EVS and his group of followers,
yeah,
like John Malin. You have Ripa and the people who are supporting him, like Flash. You have I guess Gabe Eltabe fell out with EVS a while back. Um, for those of you who don't remember, Gabe Eltabe was the one who left DC when they decided to drop the American Way from Truth, Justice, and the American Way. You know,
yeah,
all these different people are like kind of just playing you know female doggy slap with each other. Um,
yeah.
so I mean that's
Uh, but to finish what he was saying, except that it allowed some comic artists to have a real career selling comics on YouTube when they are too white male. Well, I don't think it matters your color or whatever in that regards. And then he
okay.
says,
Yes,
yes,
I think the 40-year-old male comic fans were leaving anyways. CG just offered something to drop out to buy who weren't going to buy DC anyways. Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I mean,
possibly. I think. Go ahead.
the thing about CG and why it started up more as a movement with people getting tired of of the whole of
Yeah, started up.
ideologies trying to be shoved down their throat.
Yeah,
People
started
just
a fan movement. Speaking out against the ideologies being forced down the throat, and then some creators. Well, I think what happened first was Richard C. Meyer got challenged to make a comic, and then he did. And they didn't like it.
Mhm.
That and then other creators like EBS got involved, and started making comics.
Well, I mean, it's something that, if you think about it, particularly here in the States, it's something that's been kind of cross border. It's not just hit comics, it's hit, obviously cartoons, movie, hit pop culture across the board,
Yeah,
where people don't want to, whether they open a comic book or open a graphic novel or go to a movie theater or turn on their TV, they don't want to be preached at. Well, if they want to be preached at, then they're likely going to go to something like TBN or CBN if they want to hear preaching, they want to hear
Yeah,
a pastor preach to them. They don't want celebrities sitting there trying to preach to them. Okay,
yeah.
I think most people could honestly care less, what Alyssa Milano or Whoopi Goldberg or Bill Maher really have to, or Jon Stewart really have to tell them about how they think they should lead their lives, or how white people are the most evil people in the world, and how everybody else, everybody who's not white, is just another victim. It's like people are tired of having that message shoved down their throat, so they're going to take their money, they're going to take their
They're gonna
time
vote with their
and
wallets.
put them elsewhere. You know,
Yeah. And although I will admit, CG, sort of as puts there, it was a convenient place too. They're no longer spending, their 40 or 50 bucks, or a couple $100 a month
I
um,
mean, if you
you
think about it,
on regular comic shop. So
if you think about it too, we have another couple of like mini like well,
but
we have,
the
we have,
biggest
we
problem
have
is,
even in some of the portions of CG that we know that we directly know,
yeah,
like Pops, Chris, you know, Rex,
yeah,
you know, where there's some friction between there's
creators
friction
or
between Pops and Chris, obviously, but and to a lesser degree, I don't know if there's still friction between Rex and Potts, but there was for a while there. So I mean,
yeah.
you know,
That, that's been the major problem. I won't say since the start, but close to the start, is the infighting in CG. That's its worst part. Is all the infighting, and in a lot of ways, it reminds me a little bit of the church.
war
Especially
war
now.
camp, war campaign was another faction within
Yeah, and
CG.
which caused infighting, and and infighting in a movement is never good.
Mhm.
But
Because it's going to stifle. I mean, well, not that I want to get into a huge political discussion here as well, but just look at what's going on in the Republican Party right now, right? The MAGA versus the establishment, right?
yeah.
Where you got some infighting going on there too. You just have it all over the place. The infighting, the city versus a lot, and some of it's just stuff that's gone on that
Yeah.
uh,
Oh, I agree that, yeah, CG isn't going to stop those sales. Marvel and DC will stop those sales themselves by what they're doing and people not wanting to buy it. And then those people are going to go somewhere else, either CG or other independent comics. How
yeah.
about we just say independent comics as a whole they might go to, or they'll just stop buying
Hmm.
um, comics altogether.
Yeah. CG is something separate, a safe harbor for others. See,
Yeah.
now this discussion we're having right now, we can continue it for as long as it will go. But this is something that could have been brought up last night on the panel show too. We could have probably
Yeah.
brought in some people. So
Yeah.
just but yeah, but it's kind of one of those things where you know, well, even Tug has admitted at times that he doesn't like a lot of these hashtag type communities because
Uh, yeah. Duke says Rick and Dillard always stay away from drama. Hands up, I guess. I'm not sure what that's supposed to mean. Rick, it is noticed you are setting a good example. Thanks, Duke. Or
yeah,
Captain.
well that is kind of interesting because you know I don't know if you guys remember about a month or so ago when the whole thing with the trash cast got started, right? Because of some
Yeah.
incidences between Yellow Flash and Ethan. We actually brought Dillard on here to talk a little bit, get his perspective on things. Wanted to
Yeah.
give him a chance to, and that's what we tried to do. And and yeah,
Yeah.
I
And
also try to avoid the drama as much. I mean, it's as I said, it's one thing to give legitimate critique on something. It's another to sit there and revel in the misery of others.
although, and here Elk says, yeah, DC and Marvel are tanking their sales themselves. CG books are a result of the decline sales, not the cost. True. Although I might say CG is probably, I could be wrong, but CG is, or at least some creators are tanking their own
Yeah,
sales.
it's funny how you guys talk about that too, because I think I just did an article the other day where I was reading a little bit about that. How how well we know that for the past 4 or 5 years here, how DC and Marvel have been pushing the whole DEI agenda, diversity, equality, inclusion agenda, and all that, and
Yeah.
how I think it was on Bleeding Fool was where the article. It might have even been last night that we went over it, but where they were talking about how they could not even give these books away.
Oh yeah, you're talking about the digital ones. Now
Yeah.
again, I think and I think I sort of stated, I think that is sort of misleading. Like I said, they've had that before. They bring it back. They're just putting them up there. Are they giving them away? Technically, yes. Are they trying to do it just for the inclusion part? No, because if they're putting more than the quote unquote DEI stuff up there, then they're just putting up their whole catalog and they're cycle and it said they're cycling through. So yes, part of that the DEI stuff is part of it, but I think they did that a while back too. Like I said, when they had Ultimate Spider-Man up there and all that, but maybe not. But the thing is, if they're putting them up there and cycling them through, yes, maybe these books are included. But yes, they're trying to give them away, or they're trying to get readers to come to them to want to buy books, trying to get them
And
involved.
it's not working, and it's not
Yeah,
working.
and that's even with more than just the DEI stuff there up there. That I'm suspecting it's more than neither of us has
Well,
looked.
yeah, because I know
I
other
don't.
issues that people have talked a lot about include like the constant reboots, the constant, you
Yeah,
know, changing of things. It's like people just, nobody can keep track of what's going on. So,
yeah,
anyways,
yeah.
um,
Maybe we can just try. Let's pause
and
this
I don't mind,
conversation.
I
Yeah,
don't mind because I
yeah.
mean
We're
it's
we're we're
still some
loving.
fun. So, and
Yeah, we're loving this conversation, but we did have the objective to read that one article. So let's try and get through that one article, and if we still
well,
we can still talk about.
I think because we got into this conversation, we probably that one article, because remember I still have, of course, the wrestling wrap up and the this
Yeah,
dangerous history segments to do, and I do want to try to get done before inside of an hour. So,
yeah,
anyways, let's go look at that um, article here that we were just
and we've
talking about.
enjoyed this conversation immensely, and it's what we want more of here. You know, getting these
Exactly.
conversations started, and even hopefully over the articles that we read, or Mike
Yeah.
reads, either with me or somebody else.
Yeah. That's all. That's always my goal, is to just spark conversation. Kind of like what they say on Prime Nine on MLB Network. You know, it's the start arguments, not end them. It's like, you know. Um, anyways, Ripaverse continues its ascent, launches campaign for debut issue of third original series Yaira. Article by Spencer Coley, published earlier today. Oh, look at that look!
Yeah.
Wow.
And of
Yeah.
course, this book has a lot to do with the Sosko sisters, which was a part of the discussion last night a little bit,
Yeah.
from what I
And,
remember, anyways,
all right.
about this book. Anyways, I'll let you start reading.
All right. In continuing their taking of the indie comic scene by storm, Eric D. July's Ripaverse has officially opened the pre-order campaign for their next original series, Yaira. Disclosure: this article's author holds a personal friendship with the Ripaverse's creative manager, Andrew Rodriguez. All right, so that at least they're telling us out in the open
And then
here,
there might be
you know,
some bias
there
here.
might be a bias in this article. So kudos to him for at least acknowledging that. So
Yeah.
we keep that in mind in terms of how he may and how he may be choosing to articulate his views. Um, Spinning out of her debut appearance in July's Isom Volume 1, Number 1, the upcoming Yaira Volume 1, Number 1 will follow the eponymous heroine as, in defiance of Alpha Corps leader Brian Solari's order that she take her rebellious attitude and remove herself from the city in service of its citizens' safety, she makes her way back to Florspark um, in search of answers regarding a returning threat from her past. Interesting take there. Quote, who or what is Yaira? Unquote, reads the series' official logline. Quote, for the citizens of Florspark um, and the Alpha Corps who protect them from except related threats, Yaira is a power and a force of nature unlike anything else they've seen to date. After a battle fought to a standstill, Brian Solari of the Alpha Corps told Yaira to leave Florspark and never return. But Yaira doesn't play by anyone's rules. She makes her own rules, and now she's back. So
So,
I guess she's got the attitude of saying, "Kiss my, you know what?" There,
kiss my hiney.
huh? Yeah.
Kiss my hiney. And Elk says, sentence needs to be edited. Yes. As we know, a lot of these do need some
We've been talking. Well, and the funny thing
proofread.
is, now I mentioned this. I don't I might have I think I mentioned this to you off camera earlier, Rick. Um,
Yeah.
but funny thing is that one of the things I mentioned is John F. Trent, who formerly, of course, worked here at Bounding into Comics, has now started his own site called That Dark Place, which will probably be in the coming weeks looking for
Uh,
articles from there as well.
yeah,
Um,
you were actually saying that yesterday on stream.
okay, yeah. Well,
Elk says I
here's the
make
thing.
run-on
As I
sentences
said,
too.
he was formerly with. In fact, I think Bounding into Comics was his thing initially, and then he sold it off. And since he left, the editing got worse.
Yeah, much.
it,
They
it,
need a proofreader. They
yeah.
need to hire a proofreader or two. Just to make sure words are spelt right. The words are complete. Or their grammar is good.
Yeah.
I'm not sure whether it needs. Depends what you mean by edited, I guess. But you at least need these proofread.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, with
That's it. I make run-on sentences too. Yeah. Actually, I do need to step away from the computer for a quick moment because we are starting to get a little dim here. So I need to turn on the light here. So I'll be actually. I guess I can wait. I guess I can wait a few more minutes before I do that. So we'll
yeah,
just see how things go. I think it's still bright enough to where we. Okay. Anyways, let's get back to the article then. Quote: but what does this wintry force want in Florspark, and why has she chosen to return now? Unquote. It continues. Quote, Yaira's history goes back further, and her origins reach farther than anyone realizes. Could this be maybe somebody who's much like Wolverine, who has who maybe they look only like 30, 40, or 50, but may actually be 90 or 100 for all we know.
yeah, or
Uh,
more.
and sometimes a deeper past means more to come and haunt you.
Come
When you
back and haunt you.
come back and haunt you. um, when you wield such immeasurable power, your choices can have far-reaching consequences. What happens when Yaira's past catches up with her, and others are affected and forced to pay the price for her actions? There she is right there. She definitely looks like somebody who'd grab your attention, doesn't she, Rick? Huh?
Yeah, maybe. Oh, it looks like she's got ice powers. Elk says Florist Park sounds like the name of a Florida trailer park Earl lives. Well, who knows what a place could be with a name, Come on, I live in Chilliwack. It's not that chilly here.
Mhm.
And I'm not sure how whacked it is yet.
Uh-huh.
Doesn't seem all too whacked yet. And, although I'm sure Chilliwack is some sort of native term or whatever, but I could be wrong.
And didn't you originally live in Kitchener, Ontario?
No, Hamilton.
Oh, Hamilton. Okay. And is there anybody there actually named Hamilton?
Yeah. The one of the founders of the town was last name was Hamilton.
Well, I know that probably the founding of the town was probably named after somebody, but I mean, is there anybody there now who is named
In Hamilton, named Hamilton. Well, seeing as how it's a city of over 500,000, I would assume so. But hey, I don't know everybody who's in it, so I
And
can't
right,
say for
and then
sure.
there's a place near where you live called Kitchener too. Does that mean that Kitchener, Ontario, is one big kitchen, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm not sure. Yeah, you would think Kitchener would have something to do with the possibly kitchen, but um, I'm not sure. Just because it sounds like kitchen is supposed to be the root word, but again, I don't know.
yeah,
I don't know where that name comes from. The etymology of that name is from.
yeah.
I think that's the right
But
word.
anyways, back to the article here. In terms of visuals, Yaira #1 will feature art from Marvel Comics, Spider-Man, and Aranya Special, The Hunter Revealed, Volume 1, #1 colorist, and Dynamite Comic, The Warlord of Mars, Deja Doris, Volume 1, number 23,
That's
27.
Deborah.
Huh?
Oh, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong name.
23, 27. Penciler, Deborah Carita, and lettering work from the Ripperverse's resident Eric Weathers. As for its story, the book will be helmed by none other an indie creative duo, Jen and Sylvia Soska. So, yeah, there you go. They're the writing duo of the controversial sister duo that we were all, twin duo that we were all talking about earlier, otherwise known as the Soska sisters. Um, Perhaps best known for their work on such indie horror films as 2012's American Mary, 2019's Rabid, as well as penning the 5-issue Black Widow, Volume 7 for Marvel Comics.
And Elk of Antioch says Lord Kitchener was a British World War One commander-in-chief of the army. He drowned when his ship was when he was in when it was torpedoed. He
Hmm.
was torpedoed. The ship
Yeah,
he was in
actually,
was torpedoed.
most cities are usually there are a lot of cities out there that are usually named after somebody. Like where I'm from, La Mirada, however, that's not named after a person. La Mirada is the Spanish. I think more it's translated as the view, but you could argue that it may even be a translation for the word, more literal translation for the word mirage.
Uh,
Mirada, mirage. But anyways, and they're the Soska sisters right there, I guess.
the one doesn't look too bad. The one just got like really creepy. The one that's right.
Okay, the one to the right kind of looks like she's got the Joker lipstick on her lips there.
Yeah, the one that's closer to the bookshelf looks just creepy. The other one doesn't. She's all right looking.
So that's what Yaira is about and who is bringing her story to life. What about its campaign offerings? Well, for an answer to that question, you'll have to head over to the official Rippaverse website to check out the campaign page for yourself. And if you're interested, make sure you do so quickly, as if the previous campaigns for both ISOM and Alpha Core's first issues are any indication, Yaira's first outing will sell out much sooner than later.
Oh, that's a little that as long as he wants that up, it's not going to sell out because he'll print as many copies as he needs to. He's not going to refuse anybody to be able to buy the book. The campaign is so set for I don't know how many days, you know.
Yeah. So,
So
anyways, let's see now. Oh, the Kitchener was named Berlin until 1916 or so. Okay. Well, that's neat.
okay,
So, let's see. We're now at 30. Uh,
36. So
yeah. So, you know something? I think I am going to go ahead and kind of start winding down a little early tonight here. Just
yeah, because I don't think we'll get another small article.
yeah, and as I said, I want to get this done under an hour tonight. I want to like, I'm about 26 minutes over what I want to be right now, but I'm still kind of keeping everything with. So,
Yeah,
anyway, so what we're gonna do now, of course, we're gonna head
do the
get it
wrestling wrap up.
right. So, anyways,
And,
this
uh,
past Friday, TNA had its Sacrifice pay-per-view. Um, we'll take a quick peek at that. Of course, I'll go over the results from that here as soon as I pull that up.
Elk says Hanover and Guelph were the names of British German Kingdom of Hanover, and they kept their names.
Mhm.
Cool.
Well, German and English are kind of part of the same language family, from what I understand. They're both they're both
Yeah, I know
from,
what you
they're
mean.
both they're both from Anglo-Saxon.
Yeah,
The Anglo-Saxon.
dramatic. I know there's the romantic languages. Dramatic might be the wrong word.
So on the countdown show to TNA's Smack, that was a pre-show that would have been also on YouTube and all that. The countdown show for Sacrifice for this and Sacrifice and the countdown show took place at St. Clair's College in Windsor, Ontario, Canada. Um,
Ooh.
what, Rick?
Windsor, Ontario, Canada.
Yeah, that's where they had the event last Friday. Their
Oh, I'm
Sacrifice.
just woohooing at Windsor, Canada. You know.
Um, Crazy Steve retained the TNA digital media title over Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry, of course, the longest reigning digital media champion in history. He held the title once before, but had since lost it. And of course, Crazy Steve's the current champion. And then in a continuation of their feud, as alongside Nick Nemeth and Steve Macklin, Speedball Mountain of Speedball Mike Bailey and Mustache Mountain Trent Seven defeated the Rascals of Trey Miguel and Zachary Wentz. That happened on the pre-show um, to Sacrifice. Then the Sacrifice pay-per-view itself. Both events were on TNA Plus, by the way. The opening match saw Nick Nemeth defeat Steve Macklin in a continuation of their feud, as Macklin's been accusing Nick Nemeth of trying to use TNA as kind of a springboard to bigger and better things, but Nick Nemeth has continuously denied that fact. Now, granted, Nick Nemeth was on a recent tour of Japan in which he won the New Japan Pro Wrestling's Global Heavyweight Championship. In a match for the TNA tag titles, the system members of Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers, with Alicia Edwards in their corner, defeated the former champs ABC of Ace Austin and Chris Bay. As the system is looking to continue to assert their power within the TNA, saying how the system always wins out. Basically, you can't fight the system, as it were. So now they, along with Moose, have titles. Basically, the major power players in TNA right now. In a no disqualification match, PCO Pierre Carl Ouellet, the French Canadian Frankenstein, as he's known, defeated Cone. In another title change, the tag team known as Spitfire, Danny Luna and Jody Threat, defeated the former Knockouts World Tag Team Champions MK Ultra of Killer Kelly and Masha Slamovich. Hammerstone avenged his defeat of Josh Alexander from Hard to Kill in their match. In a six-man tag match, Mustafa Ali teamed with Mustafa Ali, the TNA X Division champion, teamed with grizzled young vets James Drake and Zach Gibson to defeat the team known as Time Machine of Kushida and the Motor City Machine Guns of Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley. Jordan Grace retained the Knockouts World title. And for those of you who don't know, the Knockouts titles are basically the women's titles in TNA. Jordan Grace retained the Knockouts Women's World title, or Knockout World title, in a three-way match over Tasha Steeles and Zaya Brookside. And in the main event, saw Moose retain the TNA World title over Eric Young. So that's all that happened at Sacrifice. So as we now in AEW news, they of course had Rampage and Collision this weekend, as they now are building towards their next pay-per-view event, Dynasty. We'll take a quick peek at what happened on Collision this past Saturday on TNT.
TNT.
Yeah. AEW's Collision from this past Saturday. Let's see. Which, of course, they took place. The show was taped on March 7th from the Gas South Arena in Duluth, Georgia. Aired on the 9th. I actually meant to grab the result, not the card. Brian Danielson defeated Shane Taylor Productions. And after the match, Will Ospreay came out to confront Brian Danielson to challenge him for a match between what are considered two of the modern day technical wizards of their time, and Brian Danielson and Will Ospreay, for Dynasty, the next AEW pay-per-view coming up in April. The newly christened Elite of the Young Bucks, Matthew and Nicholas Jackson, the EVPs of AEW, along with the newest member, Kazuchika Okada, who just signed with AEW, becoming All Elite, defeated the three-man team of Adrian Alanis, John Cruz, and Liam Gray in just over 2 minutes, in a match that was more or less a showcase for Okada to show AEW fans what he could do. Mariah May staved off the challenge of Trish Adora. After the match, Tony Storm came out to congratulate May, then was attacked by Deonna Purrazzo, who was then beat down by both Tony Storm and Mariah May after the match, continuing, planting the seeds to continue that feud. Nick Wayne of the Patriarchy defeated Adam Priest in a match that saw Adam Copeland, make his return to AEW after a bit of an injury beat, and ended up challenging Christian to an I Quit match for the TNT title coming up not this Wednesday but next Wednesday in Toronto on Dynamite. Chris Jericho defeated Titan of CMLL. Mystico of CMLL defeated Angelico. And in the main event, in the Atlanta Street Fight, the House of Black of Malachi Black, Brody King, and Buddy Matthews defeated the team of Mark Briscoe, Jeff Jarrett, and Jay Lethal in a match that saw everybody basically get beat up here. People going through tables. In fact, they actually ended up putting, I believe it was Mark Briscoe, through a flaming table. So
that might get hot.
Yeah. So now coming up on this Wednesday's Dynamite, of course, got Samoa Joe will be defending the AEW World Title against will be defending the AEW title against Wardlow, who recently won a match to get that opportunity. And in WWE news, the fourth inductee was announced for the upcoming Hall of Fame ceremony at WrestleMania. The most recent announcement was Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali was just announced to being inducted in the WWE Hall of Fame for his contributions to the WWE, of course, most notably serving as a referee during a match at the first WrestleMania. He also had some legendary exchanges with the late great Gorilla Monsoon back in 1976 during the time when they were basically promoting the Ali versus Inoki boxer wrestler match, which was not really taken too kindly of because of a lot of the restrictions that Ali's people were placing on Inoki. The match in that really got a lot of positive praise was the Andre the Giant George Wepner match back then. But Ali, the fourth person to be announced for the WWE. So thus far, the 2024 WWE Hall of Fame class includes Paul Heyman, the current manager for the Bloodline, most notably, Roman Reigns, former WWF Women's World Champion Bull Nakano, the two-time WWF World Tag Team Champions, the U.S. Express of Mike Rotunda and Barry Windham. Of course, Mike Rotunda, he later would come back to the WWE as IRS. He's also the father of Bo Dallas and Bray Wyatt. And Barry Windham is their uncle. So those four individuals are being inducted at this year's WrestleMania event over the weekend, over the first weekend in April. I believe it's April 6th and 7th, I believe. So that's all I got for the wrestling wrap-up. So now, with today being Monday, March the 11th, 2024, why don't we go ahead and take a look back at this day in Nietzsche history. History! And then 2019, let's see. David, 1954. And then that's from 1984. Okay, so without for any further ado, let's take a look back at this day in Nietzsche history. So first off, we're going to head back 75 years ago, as on this date, 75 years ago today, on this date back in 1949, the 90th issue of Police Comics went on sale from Quality Comics. Had two Plastic Man stories, a Candy story and a Spirit story in it. So on this date back in 1949, the 90th issue of Police Comics went on sale. Quality Comics. Editor was Georgie Brenner, who was the guy who wrote our favorite Captain Napkin face himself, the Clock. Um, so yeah, 75 years ago today, the 90th issue of Police Comics from Quality Comics went on sale. Sold for 10 cents. There was 32 pages at that point. So with that, let's go ahead and get ready to move on to the next piece of niche history. As we move ahead 5 years to 1954, as I would like to wish a happy birthday to David Newman. David Newman is an American composer and conductor known particularly for his film scores. In a career spanning more than 30 years, he has composed, in fact, it'd be more like 40 years, I guess, because they said 1977 to the present year. But he has composed music for nearly 100 feature films, as well as the 1997 and 1998 versions of the 20th Century Fox fanfare. He received an Academy Award nomination for writing the musical score of the 1997 film Anastasia, contributing to the Newmans being the most nominated Academy Award extended family with a collective 92 nominations in various music categories. I think his dad was also, it says down here, his dad was also a Hollywood composer, and his brothers as well. So, he's the older brother of Thomas Newman, Maria Newman, and cousin of Randy Newman. Randy Newman, of course, I believe that's a guy who wrote and sang the song Cars. So happy 70th birthday to David Newman, composer and conductor. So, moving along now to the next piece of niche history. As we move ahead to 1984, on this date, 1984, two of Hayao Miyazaki's films for two different companies were released in Japanese theaters on this date back in 1984, 40 years ago today. This one film from Nippon Animation, Future Boy Conan Future of the Boy of the Future film. Let's see, find the Big Giant Robot's Resurrection. Was released by Nippon Animation back in 1984. Also in 1984, the other, probably the more famous of the two films, from Topcraft, Tokuma Shoten Hakuhodo, Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, was also released on this date back in 1984. Both of these films were directed by Hayao Miyazaki, a pretty well-known Japanese. So on this date back in 1984, Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, as well as the Future Boy Conan film, The Big Giant's Resurrection, were both released on this date back in 1984, 40 years ago today. And finally, on this date 5 years ago today, in 2019, on this day in 2019, on the day after Fastlane, in the follow-up to Fastlane, from the PPG Paints Arena in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, WWE held its Monday Night Raw event from there. The main event saw Drew McIntyre defeat Dean Ambrose in a no-holds-barred match. The Roman Reigns Baron Corbin match never got started as Drew McIntyre attacked Reigns before the match. You also saw Bobby Lashley defeat Finn Balor for the WWE Intercontinental Championship. So those are probably some of the bigger matches on the card then. So on this date, 5 years ago today, WWE held its Monday Night Raw event in the PBG Arena, Paints Arena in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Rick, was there anything you wanted to say on any of this? I know I kind of ran
No,
through.
no, no, nothing that I can think of.
Yeah, all right. So with that, I thank everybody for being here tonight. I hope that everybody enjoyed the show. We had a pretty good conversation at the very beginning. Oh, and before,
Yeah.
I even realized, I think I forgot to give you a chance to intro, Rick. Did you want to do an outro before we head out, or?
Uh, I guess all I'll say is, if you guys will go over and support my buddy Chris of Hero Shack, he's just on the last well, 13 hours or something. I know at 11:23 tomorrow morning Pacific time, his campaign for the the Great Cyclopean End. So if you want to get that book, it's good. You can actually read the first 6 issues over on his website, herojack.com. Yeah, they're going to be ending. They did their funding goal, and this guy is a guy that delivers. So, yeah, if late books or whatever you're concerned about not getting, and I think the prices are pretty good. I know I've looked at the campaign, but it's been a while. So, yeah, and you can get in for as low as $5 for a digital for it, you know, 5 American, of course. So go check those guys out. Maybe try and get a couple bucks their way. I'm sure you guys would like the Great Cyclopean if you have yet to check it out.
All right. So with all that being said, I thank everyone for being here. We'll be back, of course, tomorrow night with more Needs News. This Friday, of course, I'll have Tim Olson on with me, as we'll be looking back. We'll be continuing our coverage of February 1940 books that went on sale in that month. We'll be looking at books that went on sale in that month from Marvel Comics. So until tomorrow, bye.